Thank you again, Elsie. Our next speaker today is Mrs. Jessica Carbajal-Sanchez. She will be presenting on intimate partner violence interventions in a higher education setting. Please welcome Jessica to the stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jessica Carbajal-Sanchez, and I worked under Dr. Slade here at Wichita State University in the psychology department. Our research involves studying the effects of interventions that address intimate partner violence in higher education settings. As part of this research, our goal was to expand our knowledge on academic consequences of intimate partner violence among college students. This was accomplished through a comprehensive literature review that examined the different types of interventions available and analyzed the effectiveness for at-risk groups. In doing so, we use these key terms. Intimate partner violence, also known as IPV, is a term used in this study to refer to a range of harmful behaviors that occur within an intimate relationship. And according to the definition provided by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, IPV includes actions such as stalking, physical violence, sexual violence. The term intimate partner is used to encompass a variety of individuals who may be involved in such relationships. It includes both current and former spouses, dating partners, or individuals who have engaged in repeated sexual relationships. This term is broad and covers different types of intimate relationships. The word victim is employed to refer to the person who is the target of IPV. It identifies the individual who experiences harm or abuse within the context of an intimate relationship. On the other hand, the term perpetrator is used to describe the individual who carries out the act of IPV. It refers to the person who is responsible for inflicting harm or engaging in abusive behaviors within the intimate relationship. And lastly, bidirectional violence refers to a situation where individuals within an intimate relationship engage in both roles, acting as victims and perpetrators of violence. This term recognizes that violence can occur in a complex manner within intimate relationships, with both parties involved in abusive behaviors. Now that we have defined these, we can take a closer look at intimate partner violence. IPV is a significant public health issue that involves various forms of abuse and violence within intimate relationships. Researchers and organizations use diverse terms to classify IPV, which can sometimes cause confusion or variations in definitions. Some of the commonly used terms include domestic violence, which historically refers to violence within married couples or cohabitating partners. However, the definition has expanded over time to include abuse towards children, elderly family members, or any person living in the same household. Dating violence is a term that specifically focuses on abusive behaviors within romantic relationships among young adults and usually pertains to individuals in their teenage years or early adulthood. IPV, this term becomes more widely used as it encompasses various types of abuse within intimate relationships, regardless of the material status or cohabitation. IPV includes abusive committed by a past or present dating partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouses, or individuals involved in recurrent sexual relationships. The National Center for Injury and Prevention and Control and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention jointly define IPV as abuse that occurs within the context of an intimate relationship. The abuse can be physical, sexual, emotional, or psychological in nature. It may involve cohesive or control, threats, intimidation, or isolation, among other tactics. And it is important to understand that IPV can occur in both cohabitating and non-cohabitating relationships, and it affects individuals from various demographic backgrounds. Recognizing and addressing IPV is crucial to safeguarding the well-being of those impacted and preventing its occurrence in the future. These behaviors can be further classified into subtypes that help to understand the different aspects and manifestations of IPV. Stalking refers to unwanted and reoccurring unwanted attention and communication that initiates fear or concern on behalf of one's personal safety or the safety of another individual. Physical violence is the use of intentional physical force with the possibility of creating harm, injury, disability, or even death. Sexual violence is a sexual gesture that is perpetrated or attempted by another individual without consent from the victim or against an individual who is incapable of giving consent or refusing. Psychological aggression is a utilization of verbal as well as nonverbal communication with the objective of A, destroying another individual mentally or emotionally, and B, exercising domination over another individual. Now that we have highlighted some important factors of IPV, we can take a look at the risk factors. And these risk factors indicate that certain groups may be more vulnerable to experiencing IPV. Taking a closer look, there are significant gender imbalances factors associated with IPV. Researchers consistently show that women are at a higher risk of experiencing IPV compared to men. For example, a survey of 6,818 women in college found that 36% of reported encountering IPV. This gender disparity in IPV victimization may result from various social and cultural factors, power dynamics, and transitional gender roles. Secondly, adolescent exposure and mental health consequences are another factor. Adolescents who are exposed to dating violence are at an elevated risk of experiencing IPV in adulthood. These This indicates that early experiences of violence in romantic relationships can have long-lasting effects. Moreover, depression, anxiety, and anger have all been linked to IPV victimization and perpetration. Individuals who struggle with mental health issues may be more susceptible to engaging in abusive behaviors or becoming victims of IPV. Lastly, college students face unique challenges that can contribute to their risk of experiencing IPV. The transition to college is often a stressful life event, and many students are still developing their emotional maturity and coping skills. Studies have shown that college students as a whole are at an increased risk of mental health concerns. Understanding these risk factors is crucial for developing targeted preventions and intervention strategies. Efforts to address intimate partner violence should consider the significant needs and vulnerabilities of different groups to create effective support systems and educational programs. By recognizing and addressing these risk factors, we can work towards reducing the incidence of IPV and providing support for those affected by it. There are consequences that are associated with IPV, such as psychological, physical, and academic consequences. The psychological consequences are roughly 75% of women, along with 48% of men. IPV victims have reported some form of trauma related to their IPV encounters. With physical consequences, several health-related consequences have been linked to IPV. An average of 1 in 5 of all homicide victims are murdered by a former or current intimate partner, and more than half of women homicide victims are murdered at the hands of a male intimate partner. Lastly, academic consequences. There have been few studies that have examined the academic consequences among individuals experiencing IPV. Boneyard and colleagues found that college students with victimization experience reported lower academic efficiencies, intuitional commitments, and higher stress levels. Additionally, those students who experience victimization are at an increased danger for academic disengagement. So how do we counteract these consequences? By preventative and targeted intervention programs. Preventative programs are programs that focus on curriculum for high school and middle school students and their parents or guardians and educators. Targeted interventions focus on supporting adult victims of IPV. Some preventative programs that we looked into were Safe Dates. Safe Dates is a preventative program for middle and high school students that can be used as an intervention tool. And after completion, students should be more aware of what composes a healthy and abusive relationship, the consequences of dating violence, and resources to aid them or their friends involved in dating violence. Dating Matters is a school-based program that consists of 6 booklets, one for parents and 5 for one for parents only and 5 for teens and their parents to review together in order to learn about various topics of dating violence. The school-based program extends to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. And lastly, Break the Cycle supports and encourages youth between the ages of 12 and 24 to create relationships that are healthy and in a culture free of abuse that can be utilized as a targeted intervention too. The program offers training to educate, equip, and empower societies to encourage and support young individuals to create relationships that are healthy and individuals that may be experiencing dating violence. Now that we have explored some interventions, now we can look at targeted interventions. I do want to note that there is a lack of support for college students. Love is Respect is a project by the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The program offers support, advocacy, and 24/7 information to young individuals between 13 and 26 years of age who bear questions or concerns regarding their intimate relationships. Safe at Home is a program by the Women Against Abuse Safe at Home. It's a targeted intervention program that delivers community-based management conjoined with housing support to survivors of domestic violence. And lastly, Connections for Abused Women and Their Children is a targeted intervention program that is devoted to ending domestic violence by utilizing a self-empowering, enabling approach. So IPV is a significant topic facing society today. College students are at a significant risk of victimization for IPV. College students who experience victimization are at a risk for lower academic efficiencies, intuitional commitments, and higher stress levels. Few studies examine the effectiveness of intervention programs for college students. And while targeted intervention programs have been analyzed for how they operate and the curriculum it utilizes, there is little to no evidence of the efficiency of the prevention program. So recommendation for future studies is that we know that there is a need for college students that focuses on a need for research that focuses on college students and IPV, particularly on targeted intervention programs. Future studies should include pre-post surveys that examines the victim's progression and the efficiency of the program, and data could be collected through a mandatory check-in with victims. These are my selected references, and I am now open for questions.
Mental health is the number one problem in this country today. And it is significant for college students. Wichita State has done a lot to address that. But from your perspective, what would be at least 2 ways to significantly impact mental health for college students?
I would say like wellness check-ins, like the school offers like counseling and support like that. And so maybe just doing random surveys where an email goes out randomly to students and they just do like a random wellness check-in. And it's not mandatory for them to do it, but they could do it if they wanted to. And then they could probably check students like that and seeing where they're at. Another way I would suggest is to, I don't know, offer more resources more openly instead of kind of just offering them and letting them be there, maybe being more open and like having more events up with them.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Stay up here. Stay up here. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Didn't mean to let you go too early.
I was just curious if any of those prevention programs that you talked about were in schools currently. Are they being practiced or anything, or just ones that you found resources of?
So none of the programs that we looked into are like actually in schools. They're more just offered like throughout the community as a resource. So that's why we suggested that future studies focus on college students, because none of them just focus on college students. They focus on the whole community as a whole. And the prevention programs tend to focus on the youth and trying to prevent them from entering into those type of relationships.